7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more. 1, 2. Good job. From there, tunaingia plank workout, ama the hand workout. We're doing 12. Give me some speed. Let's go for it. This is a plank workout. There, then you walk back up. Okay. If you can't, you can place your knees down and just do that. Then you walk back up. Then walk back up. Alright. 12 reps on your pace. Twende kazi. 1, 2, 3. Good job. Push it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are 10. 2 more. That's 1. That's 2. Good job. From there, our that exercise, you're doing a squat with a calf raise. Right. 12 reps. So this is a squat, then calf raises. Okay, let's lift your legs up. 12 reps. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Good on. From there, doing your plank, but with a 1 arm raise. Okay. On each side, we're performing 6. The other side, 6. Now, this is what I mean. You're going to be in a plank position there. The arm raise is basically there. Okay. So now, for ease of coordination, let's do 1 arm at a go. So you're going to start with 1 arm, 6 reps, then the other leg, 6 reps. So here, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good job. Are you feeling? It's body weight. I want to teach you something we call a dolphin push-up. Okay, with a dolphin push-up, you basically just more or less going on a pike position where you elevate your hips high there, okay, and your elbows. Remember, your elbow and your shoulders, make sure that they're parallel. Here, put. Sorry, my house is quite small. Sishangai ni mbaya. Hapo. Alright, so from there, what I want you to do is just take your nose down, go to the floor, and come back up. Okay, so you don't need to do this with your nose. Like a nose chini, take your nose down, go to the floor, then you come back up. That's one. We're doing 12 counts. Put my arms this way. 12 reps. Yeah, you okay? So we go down, nose on the floor, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Interlock your fingers, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Oh my word. I'm feeling it. From there, turn the bottom go. We're doing a tiptoe. Doing a tiptoe squat. So you're going to be on your tip toe there. Okay, up. We're doing calf rep. Are you ready? Let's go. I'm ready. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. 1, 2. Good job. Our last exercise. We're doing a plank, we're doing a push-up to a pike tap. Okay? So you're going to be on a push-up position there. So you're going to give me a push-up, then tap, tap. Okay? That's what we're doing. 12 reps, yeah? Are you good? Let's get started. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. Last one. Good job. Now, before we take our 30-second, we're going to take a 45-second breather. Before we take our breather, we're doing the 10 burpees, okay? So this one will give me some speed. This is supposed to push up your cardio, okay? So 10, then after this, we take a 45-second breather, then we start the second set. Let's go, burpee chini, kifua chini, kumi peke yake. 1, give me some speed. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. Good job. Taking a 1 minute breather, 1 minute. Now timer started. A 1 minute break. How are you feeling? Relax there. Up. Just breathe. Good job. Relax it there. Up. Just breathe. Up. Rest. Still some few more seconds to go. 10 more seconds to go. Are you okay? How are you feeling? Good. Our timer is up. Now, we're starting the second set. We might hardly finish the third set together. I want you to try and do the third set, okay? Good job. We're starting back to lunge with a knee drive all the way to squat. Start again with the right leg. No, let's start with the left. Let's go. 12 reps. Let's start with the right, sorry. There. And squat. I'm in position now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a 10. 1, 2. Good job. The other leg. Balance the other leg. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. And there, doing your plank workout for 12 reps. Twende kazi. One. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 2 more. 1. That's 2. Good. So mark back there. From there, try and get squat with the calf raise. Are you good? Good. 12 reps. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. 1, 2. Plank with 1 arm raise. 6 counts on the right, 6 counts on the left. Are you good? So here. Okay. 6 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stay on the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. From there, we're going back to the dolphin push-up. Remember, push your hips up high. We're using our nose to touch the ground for each count. Okay? So elbows are here. Interlock your fingers. Up. Ensure that your elbow and your shoulders are parallel. Eh? Same line. Up. Then you move forward, go the chin on the mapua, and come back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. How are you feeling? I'm feeling awesome. From there, then get tiptoe squat. Here, tiptoe. You ready? Sorry, balance na mchanga kidogo leo. Let's go 12 reps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Good job. From there, push up with the pike. Then we take another 1 minute break. We start our last set, which is the third set. Are you okay? Breathe. Good job. Let's go push up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. 1, 2. Good. From there, 10 burpees. Then we take our second break. You ready? 10 burpees. Take the chest down. Give me a speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more. 9. Stop. And 10. Good job. We took another minute. Break. Breath. Oh. How are you feeling? That is good. How are you feeling? Good stuff. Relax there. Just breathe. 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 Good stuff. I'm feeling a bit more relaxed, more rested. Starting with that set. Because of time, we'll definitely not finish together, but I want you to try and hack at least 4 sets. Okay? Download this workout on NTV page Kenya, on Facebook. Download the exercise, do it at home, the comfort of your house, with your family, with your loved ones, share it with your friends, and let's get this fitness journey going. Okay, I'll just start you off with the lunge. Okay, then perhaps the hand workout if time allows. If not, you'll proceed on your own. Okay? Make a promise to yourself at the end of the day. It's your body. Treat it well, reward it. It will also take care of you someday. Let's start with the right leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more. 1, 2, good. Balance with the other leg, 12 reps. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more. 1 and 2. From there, breathe. Unfortunately, we're running short of time, so we're going to take a breath, stretch, and call it a day. Hope you've enjoyed the workout. It was tailor-made for you. Pushes, strength. Then also pushing up a cardio, especially with the last workout, which is the burpee. And I hope you have enjoyed it. I'm panting. Look at how sweaty I am. It's a brilliant way for me to start my morning and my day. So breathe. We do a stretch here. The other side. Other side there. Good. Here. Breathe in. Out. Good. Breathe here. Breathe in. And out. Waistline here. The other side. Good. Shrug your shoulders. Backwards. Twist your neck round. Funge macho. The other side. Good stuff. Then from there, breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. And out. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying tuned to NTV. God bless you. Have a self-loved day. Bye-bye.
this ordinary day, something extraordinary is about to happen.
Promise me you can keep a secret. I'll not breathe a word. What is it?
It looks like a water horse. They're not supposed to be real.
His name's Crusoe. He's very friendly.
Kirsty, Angus. What are you doing in there?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
The Water Horse, Legend of the Deep.
Vina vegetable oil stays liquid to the last drop, so it's smooth cooking from start to finish. Now with an easy-to-pour cap, Mapishi Poa, Madishi Poa.
By Nation Media Group brings you Celebrity Home Chef. This is a chance to nominate your favorite celebrity to get in the kitchen and showcase their cooking skills on TV. Simply head on to @Pishi254 on social media. Comment by tagging your favorite celebrity, and guess what? We might just make it happen. Tune in to NTV every Friday to catch the celebrity in action.
When you buy a bar of Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate, you can help change the story. That's because we will use part of the proceeds to donate milk to less fortunate children across our beautiful country. Let us come together and show the generous spirit that is inside of all of us. Cadbury Dairy Milk. There's a glass and a half in everyone.
This is NTV.
Good morning, East Africa, and welcome to your world this second day or 22nd day of September. And on this morning, we all remember, I'm sure, our journey starting off in life. You know, those humble beginnings where you just got out of school or left home in pursuit of your independence, trying to get a job, no money, very few friends, and so much rejection on the way. Or maybe your journey included life dealing you a hard blow where you are exposed to painful circumstances and experiences. Thing is, good or bad, our humble beginnings either bear roots for surviving life seasons or set us up to understand other people's pain or struggles. My name is Gladys Gashanda, and today we speak of the treasures in humble beginnings, and that journey begins now. Where you are right now is not where you are destined to be in life. That is the main focus of today's show, Humble Beginnings, Humility in Success. There has been an upsurge of kidnappings in DRC and the people have had enough. They had nothing, now they have a little, but the drama they faced while they had nothing is worth waiting for.
And these are tonight's nominees.
For the first time in history, the Emmy Awards were held virtually. Thank you for joining us on this broadcast. And again, as I mentioned, we're talking about the treasures of humble beginnings. And speaking of which, the question of the day to you is, have you ever been mistreated because you did not have enough money? Well, share your experience using that hashtag #NewNormal on our social media handles, and you can also call in or text using that number at the bottom of your screen. I see you are already talking to us, and we'll get to those comments in a moment. For now, let's take a look at the numbers across the world in terms of the effects of COVID-19. And globally, those numbers this morning stand at 31,482,599 people confirmed to have contracted the virus so far. Out of that number, 23,110,085 people have totally recovered. And unfortunately, we have lost 969,298 people to COVID-19 globally. In the country, 37,079 people so far have contracted the virus. 23,949 people have totally recovered, and we have lost 650 Kenyans to COVID-19. Remember, the numbers change every day. There is a worry and an upsurge of numbers across the globe, even as experts say they anticipate the second wave of the coronavirus. So stay safe and keep taking those precautions to stay safe. Okay. I look at some of the stories making headlines this morning across the world, and floods fill the streets of Nouakchott, Mauritania, after torrential overnight rains, leaving entire neighborhoods isolated and halting cars on the roads. Drivers are struggling to pick up clients, and informal sector workers have resigned themselves to staying at home due to lack of transportation. Now, Masoud Mohammed, a builder, says the roads are flooded, there are no more taxis, people are no longer able to reach their workplaces, and we are there just sitting and doing nothing. Elsewhere in the Congolese capital, Kinshasa, women are regularly victims of abduction, kidnap and rape. Some of those allegedly carrying out the crimes are illegal cab drivers, so police have begun conducting roadside checks in a bid to catch the perpetrators. Brighty Sharadi, a kidnap victim and activist, says, I was the victim of kidnapping by criminals disguised as taxi drivers on my way home from work. They took me from 5:45 p.m. and let me go around midnight. midnight, stripping me of my phones. I didn't even have the means to contact my family. She added, I have heard women crying about this, but when I went through the same thing, I thought, no, we must save others, we must save lives. That's how all this began. We made a promise that what happened to us wouldn't happen to others. In the country, to get us into that conversation of the day is this story of humility, working to keep busy and putting something on the table no matter what the work is. Now, a group of 50 girls in Narok County have come up with a shoe shining business that keeps them busy besides earning their daily livelihood. Here's Alex Mwangi with this uplifting story.
With many youths faced by the challenge of unemployment, a situation which has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, the twin combination of creativity and humility comes in handy in providing avenues for employment. 50 girls in Narok County have formed a group called Iselenge Nema, which means Maasai Girls, to shine shoes for residents in the dusty town.
Siku hizi tunasoma hatupati kazi, unakuta wengine wanaenda shule wanakosa fees, wanatoka kukaa nyumbani.
Kitu yenye imetufanya tuamue tufanye hii kazi, tunaonanga hii kazi huwa watu wengi haoni kama ni kazi. So sisi tukaamua hebu tufanye hii kazi yenye tutaweza hii kazi kidogo juu ndio itatusaidia, na tumeona pia watu wengi wameinuka kupitia hii kazi.
Even as the youth spent time indoors because of the COVID-19 pandemic, exploring some of the business ideas that they encounter on their smartphones could yield handsome dividends, not only for them, but also for their community.
Mimi niliona kwa simu na nikaona ni project ambaye iko na faida kwa vijana, kwa sababu unakuta kama kiosk moja kama hii inaajiri wasichana 4. Unakuta ingine kama ile iko pale inaajiri wasichana 4.
Ile services wanapeana inashinda ya wale wanaume. Sisi tunaona kama ni kitu mzuri. Wasichana kutoa ile, unajua kuna kuwa na ile kitu inaitwa slay queen. Wao wameachana na hiyo, wameamua kufanya kazi ni kazi.
The chair lady of the group, 22-year-old Grace Nakola, has embraced a broad vision when it comes to scaling up the activities of the group.
Haitakuwa tu kikundi ya kukua tu kikundi, tunataka kuwa sako kubwa ambaye hata sisi tutakuja kusaidia Narok County kuinua economy ya Narok County.
Wale vijana wenye wako pale vijijini, wengine wanasura kwa hii mtaa wa Narok, hawana kazi, wanakaa wanaingia kwa madawa. Hii sasa ni good example. Hawa wasichana sasa ni role models.
Alex Mwangi, NTV.
So humble beginnings and the treasures in them is our conversation of the day. And to help us understand more about the same and also hear the personal stories in studio, I'm joined by Caroline Gaithuma, who is a transformation coach. In the other studio, we are joined by Pastor Elizabeth Akinyi, who is a mentor, also a gospel artist. We're also joined by Simon Wafubwa, who is the CEO of N Wealth. He'll tell us more, excuse me, as to what it is that he does. Duncan Kiprotich, who is the founder of Gown C Limited. Thank you all for joining us on this conversation this morning. And I'll start off with you, Caroline. When you think about humble beginnings for you, what does it remind you of?
Wow, it actually reminds me of, like ground zero, like you're digging a foundation so people can't even see your head, like you're just somewhere underground. Yeah. But then it's an oxymoron because humble is humility, and most people are. Humility is about finding yourself in a place where you see yourself as equal as everybody else. You're not higher or lower than anybody else. But most of the time, in our humble beginnings, we feel like we are lower than everybody else. Yeah, so there's that.
Okay, and when you think about your own humble beginnings, are there lessons that you think you drew from there?
Oh yes, so many lessons. And as I said, it's like a foundation you're digging. You really go deep into the core of some very very traumatic experiences, very heavy emotions, and your treasure is actually on how you come out. How you come out, what are the attitudes you come out with, what are the perspectives you come out with, what are the insights, the wisdom that you come out with, those are the treasures. Yeah.
And for those that actually take their time, you
Yeah.
know, taking in the lessons
Yes.
out of the humble beginnings,
Yeah.
would they stand out later on in life from somebody who probably took a shortcut?
Yeah, definitely, because once you're down there and you're going through something tragic or something traumatic or something just really deeply stressful, there is something that cracks, you know, within you. It's like a seed. When a seed is put in the ground, it has to die for the, you know, for the potential to come out. So that there is the treasure in that, and people should stop running away from that and getting shortcuts, because getting a shortcut is not sustainable. You'll not be, your roots won't be deep enough. You'll be uprooted by any wind. Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear of a humble beginning, starting off with Simon. You run a company called N Wealth. Exactly what is it that you do?
Thank you so much, Gladys. We enable wealth creation for a better tomorrow in the space of retirement savings. And we've been in the market for about 10 years. We began with 300,000. And at the moment, we have a portfolio of about 70 billion in 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Mauritius. We began off in a very humble way. With just about 300,000, you can imagine what the money that you can do with that. We had to buy second-hand furniture at that time, actually around Donholm. And even before we could think about an office, I had a thought of converting one of my bedrooms into an office, until a colleague told me, by the way, organizations that begin and operate from the bedroom, they sleep. So get out of this and and set up an office outside your house. And he told me, there's just something to do with when you leave your house and go out. And later on, of course, as I reflected from the Bible, I understood the Lord says he will bless our going out and coming in. Yeah.
Okay, and definitely you have surpassed anyone's imagination in terms of your success. You said you started off with 300,000 as a ground capital. How much are you worth today?
We are doing a portfolio of clients' funds of about 70 billion now, Kenya shillings.
Wow, wow. Talk about growth and exponential growth in that case. Just tell me this. When you had your friend tell you about how businesses that start in the bedroom normally sleep, did you fear, believe, or just say, I do not care what the world says, I'll still keep at it?
You know, the place of humble beginning is a great opportunity. Is a place of opportunities. Like when you're in the valley, the only place is up. The only next destination is up when you're in the valley. So it's a place of discovery. And we are encouraged again that who has despised the days of humble beginnings? Because that's the time that you can actually put to energy every resource, every opportunity that you have, and convert it into an opportunity. That is the time that I actually learned that resources in this country have never been scarce. It's only resourceful minds which are. There is amazing opportunity. If we only choose to believe the potential that we have within ourselves and put it into action. One of the biggest dream killers, perhaps across the globe, is laziness. The hand of the diligent is the one that rules. So when you decide and say, this is the dream I'm gonna go for, and put all your energy to it as you trust in God, you will continue to scale up.
Very well said. And I'm sure there are other aspects of your journey that you can share with us. We'll get to that in a moment. Duncan, your journey, very interesting. But before we get to it, what does Gown C Limited do?
Thank you so much, Gladys. We actually provide graduation experiences for graduates in Kenya. We found out that most students are not celebrated. It's actually taking some few pictures, and we specifically decided to provide positive experiences by giving out quality gowns to institutions, schools, colleges, and also individuals. That's what basically we do. Yes.
And where did this all begin?
Wow, it's a funny story. I used to work as a salesman as a start. Walking. I cannot imagine. I cannot even explain to you how hard that is, especially as a new guy in the market, because people buy perspective. They buy you, and you can imagine walking to industrial area from town. You're hungry. You're dusty. You're not clean. You're slim. So many challenges. Then this happened. Actually, my aunt sent a gown to me to return back to the uni. Then I decided, then an idea came, as we were talking in the office, why don't I just maybe take some few pictures with some guys, then I tried them. I didn't even have transport then. Then it grew from that one to 20 to 30, same as the clans.
We seem to have lost Duncan there for a moment, but we'll get back to him. But clearly you can hear he started off on the streets as salesman. Then his auntie came through with a graduation gown. He was to return to the University of Nairobi, and an idea came to mind. And today he has a fully fledged company. So you started off and it has exponentially grown. And when you think back, your auntie, was she the guardian angel?
Yes, I think so. She really came through for me. But I'm really lucky to have that hard experience, the hustle, working inside and out of offices. That's really shaped me to be a better person, a better salesman. So I really thank even all those problems that I went through to get here. It's actually prepared me for my company and how to do business and how to work with people. Yes, so I really appreciate even those people who didn't even give me a job first, because I don't think I'll have this much experiences if I got into the market just like that.
And you will tell us more about some of those experiences you went through. But even as we talk about humble beginnings, I mentioned when we started this program is that some are dealt hard blows where you have to go through painful experiences and painful start to life. And Pastor Elizabeth has that story. Elizabeth, in a nutshell, what is your humble beginning?
Thank you, Gladys, for inviting me to this show. My humble beginnings include watching abuse from age 3. Of course, I had both dad and mom, and the first sight of violence was between my dad and mom at age 3. My dad introduced us to alcohol at age 2, was already putting that in our soda. And at age 5, while playing with my friends, I got hooked to pornography because one of them brought a magazine, and we began looking at this explicit material. And that's how we got hooked to pornography. It was part of our games besides playing ball and the like. That became part of our game in the 1978, actually 1978. And moving on, the violence continued, just domestic violence. Age 7, a relative comes to stay with us, and the sexual abuse begins, and the rape, and relatives would pass by, and anyone who came to work for us, sexual abuse was very, very common, especially my sister and I. I'm second born in our family. My sister and I suffered that. And so we kept it between ourselves because we could not dare tell any of our parents what was going on, especially the backside, especially with the sexual abuse. because mistrust had already been sown into our hearts from age 3 when we first saw the violence. We didn't have anyone to run to. So we kept it as a secret between ourselves. So anyway, domestic violence, sexual violence, all the intimidation, all the fear, all the threats in the home. And age 10, my mom defects from SDA to Catholic and becomes a Muslim. Now that made things even worse. I mean, it blew everything out of proportion. And over the years, my mom would be chased away, leave us for years, staying with my dad. My dad would bring in other people in the house, other women in the house. So concubines, yeah, his girlfriends and the like. So that's the atmosphere I grew up in. My game changer, to keep it short, age 14, I go to Alliance Girls High School. Anyone who goes to Alliance has to say that they were in Alliance. So allow me, Gladys, to say that. Because that was a game changer. It wasn't just about academic excellence, but that's when I got into Christian Union, and I began to hear things like John 3:16, which almost everyone knows, began to make sense. You mean there's a God, a Father in heaven who loves us? I didn't know love. Fathers to me were violence and abuse and noise and insults and cursing and people who live with you, but you're being violated in the background and you cannot say anything. So anyway, at 14 years, what many people call, we got born again. I have to say that because not everyone is of the Christian faith, might understand what I'm saying. But that is when the change began. When I began looking at scripture, scripture began to make sense. That is the faith I subscribed to. And Christianity began to make sense, and the Bible began to make sense. And I began to understand this God of the Bible, and I began to understand love. And I knew things were changing because the father I resented all the years, I began to have compassion on. I began to see him different. I began to see this is the father God gave me. Actually, that's what I call him, the father God gave me. No consultation, that's the father I found. So anyway, that was a game changer. From there on, I can say so much. But it was many, many years of violence. But the greatest change, the greatest transformation of any humble beginning is the change in the inner person. Because you can get out of tough situations, because our family moved from mid-income to extremely rich and then to extremely poor with all what I've described going on. But the worst pain, the worst thing for me was not the financials, the economics. The worst was what was going on in me. So when that change began from Form 1 and onwards up to today, I began to realize that the greatest evidence of a transformed life, of actually Christianity, is the change in the inner man, that transformation. So that's what I've gleaned. Actually, that's what I've learned throughout the years from all what I can say God has brought me out of. Yes, and as you can see, I have a lot of joy.
Yeah, and you now use those humble beginnings.
Yes.
The pain now has become someone else's lifeline, and you will be telling us more about that in a moment. But I mean, Caroline, just listening to everyone is talking about starting small, having a dream, sticking to it, and at some point there still was some pain involved in the case of Liz. What does this say about the differences in the humble beginnings, but they all point to one thing?
And I think there's something that she's mentioned that is very, very important, that is at the core of everything, transformation. You are a soul, you know. Everybody is a spiritual being having a human experience. And the essence of our human experience is to refine our awareness about our divine nature. And that's what transformation is about. So the question I ask everybody, because it doesn't mean that you began and you won't begin again. There are so many beginnings on the way, you know, and that's, you know, what brought me to the idea that actually the destination is the journey, you know. And so how present are you in your life experiences? Because most of the times we are living in our heads. And we are like, it should have been like this, it could have been like this, it should be like this. And we are not present to what's going on. So what happens is the lesson passes you. So that what makes the difference between somebody who has had a humble beginning and has gotten out a greater person, a powerful person, a strong person, is your attitude while you are in there. You know, you must have a vision, you must have a dream. Be very clear about what you don't want. And that's one thing I tell my clients, you know, because many people will tell you, oh, this is not working. What exactly is not working? The more you get clear about what you don't want, the more clear you get about what you want. And when your attention is focused on what you want, everything else will just walk over it. Because even if you wake up today and a car hits you on the road, you will find a positive attitude. You'll find something good to say about that, you know? And that's that's what makes you come out stronger. Your attitude, your perspective, and your presence. Yeah.
Okay, and Simon, speaking earlier, you said when you started off in your career, you had to work for somebody, you were employed for a while, and you actually do thank God you came across a tough boss. Why?
You know, a friend of mine had told me then that one of the privileges in life to have early stage in career is to have a very tough boss, because then it's like the foundation. A lot of cost in any building will go on the foundation. That's where you build resilience. That's where you build self-awareness. And amidst of all those challenges, there is depth that is created, which in a bigger way would hold the future that one would walk through. But even before then, I must admit also that growing up was not a very easy time. Perhaps with my late grandmother, going to weed people's maize at 4 in the morning, and you go then after which then you go to school, and doing charcoal to provide for school fees and food in the house. But when I look back, that was a huge privilege, because it then put in me the attribute of diligence. To date, I find myself often up early morning at 4 in the morning, at 3 in the morning, and there is so much that then can be achieved then.
And you actually mentioned when you were starting off your company, there are times you found yourself in the office as early as 3, right?
Yes. You know, when you only have one option, and that option is to make progress, you have just to take the responsibility, because it all depends on you. You look on the right hand, the bills in the house are looking at you. Kenya Revenue Authority, PAYE, is looking at you. If you oversleep, it will knock on you. You have to wake up. Suppliers in the organization will be looking at you. You've got to pay, of course, payroll costs and meet all the operational costs. So all that, you just have to take the responsibility and wake up as early as possible and work it out. Of course, I have continued to have the discipline of waking up early, reading the Bible. I am born again. I love the Lord Jesus Christ as Savior of my life, and I pray and I go to work early morning. And I must admit that there has been a lot that is achieved even before people get to work at around 8 in the morning. Between 4 and 6, there is a lot that is achieved. And I'm glad it's allowed me to share a very interesting analogy I observed. That in Nairobi, between 4 and 5 is normally very heavy cars on the road. 5 and 6 is the middle class cars, the extra, they join. 6 onwards, you find the Probox, the Bigs, and those other things. They would queue all the way from Mlolongo, complaining all the way, wasting 3 hours on the road. There is a very huge relationship between the time one wakes up and the progress they make.
All right, we hear you loud and clear, and it is interesting that you say you were prepared for this when you were tilling that land with your grandmother at 4 a.m. when you were a child. Again, the connection to humble beginnings and how they actually harness you for life. Now, before we get to hear Duncan's story, I hear you are already talking to us on that hashtag New Normal. As we asked you, have you ever been mistreated because you did not have money, you were broke? Let us know if we can have that on screen. Have you ever been mistreated because you did not have money? Talk to us, and you surely are. Jay says, a decade ago, a girl I had thought I would marry decided to get married to someone she thought had more money than me. When I inquired why she had eloped with a man, she gave me a terse warning. Leave me alone. I was mistreated because I did not have money. I'm sure many guys are saying, why? I hear you. Jackson says we were going for some walk with a friend who had a car, and he tagged along his 9-year-old spoiled boy. Wakifika kunipik, the 9-year-old boy akakataza baba yake kunipea lift. So it was either me or the boy, and the boy started crying. I declined the offer. Nikate Kanduthi was emotionally bullied and embarrassed at the same time. Oh, pole sana. Dr. Nyar Osiri says, money itself mistreated me. Money went to those who have money and ignored me. Money quoted a verse from the Bible that those that have shall be added. Lise Brown says, we are in a moment where most people get mistreated because they lack money. The current Kenya we are now in is money looks for money. If you don't have money, you get money. Interesting perspective, Lise. Menza says, yes, by my father, my own sister, but today I have everything. God is good all the time. Always pray and trust in the name of Jesus. Amen to that. And Sule says, this is a common occurrence in our society. Even your own spouse can actually mistreat you because you do not have money. Do we have any other? Omondi Okumu, relationships are worst when a character lacks the amount of finances needed. Outsiders will rock the relationship and take over. Omondi, we hear you. Betty Esudi says, of course, yes, and I will never ever forget nor forgive the person as long as I live under this sun. Why lie? Oi, Betty, pole sana. Omondi says, there's this day njaa ilinimistreat pahali tulienda kuchukulia ID. Tulienda morning by 4 p.m. Bado hatukuwa tumemaliziwa na nilikuwa na fare fixed. As a young teenager, was just excited kuendea kitambulisho. I hear you on those humble beginnings where you sit there and just keep licking your lips. Kule Kelitu says, thankfully no. Actually, I have been bullied for having money. Look at that. The flip side of it. Petero Moremi says, and this is the last one for now, yes, it was in a family gathering. Now, Duncan, just reading a lot of those comments, it looks like when you are, as you were describing, dusty, thin, can barely fit in that trouser into your shirt, and you don't look like you're worth what you're selling, most people don't give you the audience. Talk about your experience.
That's true, Gladys, actually. But people actually buy the way you look, especially in Kenya. They just look at the way you dress, especially in the service industry. And I really had a tough time, really tough time. And that's not really the hardest adversity that hit us. I believe, like as Carol said, it's all about the attitude that we have when we are down there or when we get that hurdle. Because just like for this case of COVID, when COVID happened, because in the event industry, we really depend on the events, it crushed us back to zero. Even our clients canceled. Even some were asking even for a refund on the deposit that they had deposited. It was really tough. And when I was talking to guys in the event industry, they were saying, we are done, man. Let's go back to shags. And I told them, no, we have to find a way through this adversity. And I think that's what everybody should always strive for. You'll always have all these hurdles, but never allow it to put you down. And here we're still celebrating graduations. Now we have virtual graduations. Love wins. We have so many. Yes, Gladys.
Okay, and you're talking about love winning, but was it always a bed of roses for you when you were starting off?
Yes. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but without my persistence, if I could have just given up and gone to shag, I don't think there would be much changes. But since I insisted to stick around, just work, even how hard, how hard it becomes. I just keep on doing on, just keep on pushing. How much, I found myself doing that. I found myself, my personality. I found I think my destiny too, doing that. Yes, and I appreciate for all the adversity that I went through.
I hear you. Pastor Elizabeth, your background had a lot of pain in it. And just listening to Caroline and everyone else saying you need to appreciate where you started from, because therein is a lesson. When you were going through it, and even when you came to yourself in your high school days, did it make sense that something good would come out of this?
At the time I was going through it, it did not make sense. I thought it was my fault that I was being abused. I thought I was very ugly. I thought I did something wrong, so God was punishing me by people raping me and sexually violating my sister and I thought I was the problem. I felt I'm not good enough. That's the turmoil I went through. And several times I thought of suicide the first 14 years of my life. But then, of course, that change began to happen. And that change even made things worse, because when I cleared Form 4, and my father found out, you are saved, what is that? Those days we didn't used to get saved. He was staunch Roman Catholic, my mother was staunch Muslim. I was in between. I came up with some religion in our home. It made it worse. But it's interesting to note that the more violent, and he beat me and he threw me on walls and he beat us and he beat our mother in front of us, and you'll say, I brought Satan in the home. What that did, it pushed me to God. I was not a very serious Christian the first 4 years. High school, unajua ile unaokokea shule, and then when you go home, you're something else. I was just in and out, bumpy, not consistent in the faith. But then I clear Form 4, and then the violence intensifies. It pushes me to God. Number 2, it pushed me to church because I needed help. I was an emotional wreck. I needed to talk to somebody. I needed counseling. So I began to confide in the pastor I found at Donham Pepper Church, Pastor George. He was our youth pastor. He walked with me for years. Every time there was violence in the home, we would run to his house. My sister and I would run to his house. We would hide there. And we would go and contact him. He would contact the police. I mean, it was bad. So his house was a refuge for us. Church was a hiding place for me. I felt safer being in church than at home. Just sitting there listening to preachers, whether I understood what was going on or not, was just consoling. There was a comfort about it. And so I spent a lot of my 18, 19, 20 in church. And that's where I got to know about Reverend Teresia Wairimo. At that time, she used to preach in Uhuru Park. And the first time I saw her, I thought, you mean this is somebody who has gone through divorce and so much and is standing here preaching, looking this good with makeup and heels? I thought, no, something about me must change. I can't continue being a victim. I can be a victor. That's something I understood even before I received I listened to the statement of faith in our church, Papa Center, that you can actually go through things and perpetually become a victim. This one did this one has said that. Or you can decide, I'm going to be a victor using these very circumstances. So just looking at her, when I would be so discouraged, I would look at her and think, if she made it, I can make it. I would look at my pastor and the very, very good fellowship of believers in church that came around me, that loved me as I am. They loved me out of it. The counselings I received from pastors and elders and deacons and the mamas in the church just began to turn the whole thing around. Actually, that was where the birthing for people, I love people. I love caring for people, especially young people. That's where that humble beginning, that is what was birthed out of that humble beginning I've just talked about.
Okay, and
Yes.
Caroline, I'm encouraged to hear from everyone talking about that. Even in the pain and the rejection they went through, today they are better for it, which now brings to the fore there are those who would rather take shortcuts.
Yeah.
What are they missing out on?
First of all, anybody who wants to take a shortcut doesn't see the impact that it will have in their life. They're just seeing, it's like You know, the way we are so into instant gratification, that any idea of pain or struggle, we want to run the opposite direction. But we don't see and we don't value the experiences that we go through, because there's something that happens to you in a very deep place when you dive deep into an experience, when you decide, I'm going to go through this, not around it, not over it, I'm going to go through this. And there's a question you've asked, Pastor, there, and it's very important that people understand about the seasons. There is a time you'll be smack in the middle of a storm, and what you're called to do in that moment is just be in the storm, cry, do everything that happens when you're in a tragic event or whatever. There's a space for that. Because what happens, you're diving into the storm and you're going to go through it by experiencing it. Because the pain in itself is a messenger. You know, like when you feel pain in your body, the pain is not the problem. The pain is just a signal. It's telling you there's something wrong. There's something off. Go see a doctor, you know. But what do? We just take a painkiller because we want to numb the pain. And we don't know that the pain is a signal to something. So it's the same thing, especially now during COVID. Like personally, within the last 1 year, I've had so many starts, you know, like you start, it stalls, you start, it stalls. For me, it has been a conversation within myself about, oh, this foundation for this area wasn't deep enough. And so when I'm thrown to the deep end, I'm like, okay, let me just be here so that I can dig deep enough for any storm, you know. Houses that are built in Kenya are not the same as houses built in California, because California, there are earthquakes, you know, so their foundations go deeper. So what is your destiny? You could be foregoing your destiny because you're refusing to dig a deeper foundation. You're refusing to dig the foundation that is equivalent to what you're called for. So what I would say is, there is a time to be there. Let's stop running. Let's stop thinking that life is jolly, and there are moments that you're going to be deeply depressed, and those moments have treasures in them. So when you find yourself there, be there. But then immediately you wake up to the fact that, wow, I'm depressed, then immediately move to action. What's your nearest action to your dream? Keep your dream in focus. That's the whole point. No matter where you go, even if you're under the ocean, on top of the sky, keep your eyes on the goal.
Yeah. And Simon, somebody listening to you would say you sound very focused, very positive about things, but it has not always been easy and dandy. And you have faced rejection, you have failed at some point, you've lost some. Talk about the lessons therein.
There are so many of the lessons that you go through in the journey of entrepreneurship, especially in this country. I do recall I used to have a small car, a B15 Nissan Sunny. So you can imagine fueling with 50 bob. It's not a very easy experience at the petrol station. It requires a skill to convince the petrol attendant that, look, you just fuel with 50 bob.
Continue, Simon.
Not easy.
Yeah.
But such are some of the experiences that you go through. But you keep going. You've got to keep going because that's the only way to make progress. And the other thing is that I do remember severally the car could stop on the road, you park it on the side, you take the matatu, you get into the boardroom, because when you go into the boardroom, you don't go in with your car to park in there for people to see. All that the client wants is a brain that is intelligent enough to solve their problem, to convert their problem into.
Continue. Have we lost Simon? There we go.
And that's one of the every situation or challenging time that you would go through, it into an opportunity.
Very well said, very well said. And it's interesting, we're all laughing thinking about fueling with 50 shillings, but we know all the things we've done to survive in life. Duncan, you also have an equally funny story, especially for those who thought you were not man enough to be a boyfriend or a husband, yeah? Okay. Can you hear me, Duncan?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, actually, on the boyfriend, in Nairobi, you have to have money to have a girlfriend, a happy girlfriend. That's the fact. But what I'm really trying to say is one of the biggest experiences that I've learned from this journey that I have had is embracing no, the power of no. You know, most youths in Kenya don't really, they hate the word, they hate rejection. And rejection is one of the best way to shape your product. Actually, it has shaped us as Gaunsy. It has shaped our product because initially we used to have clients who say, this is too big, this gown is too small, this is too heavy. And from that, we are able to develop now a better product that suits them on their own terms. And I believe that's the biggest lesson. Like, if I do not embrace those small rejections, even for corporates, even for tenders, I will not be here right now, where we've grown to this magnitude.
And what would you tell those who say, okay, fine, I will pay my way through things because I've tried my level best and it's not working?
No, in the short term, it might work. But what I know is quality always wins. Quality always wins. You might be given, let's say you do a corrupt deal, pay some money, some kickbacks. Of course, they'll give you for the first year. But what happens when another supplier comes and give them a better offer? Of course, you'll be kicked out. But if you offer something quality, it will always stick and you will grow with it and your reputation will hold on for a longer time. So I don't believe actually in shortcuts, and I don't encourage the youth to go to shortcuts. It will give you problems in the end. Finally, the final end product, you will not grow to that big level that I believe God wanted you to be. But the devil, opens also doors. You might think it's a good opportunity, but the devil also can open doors. That's what people don't know.
And it normally is a short-term reprieve. Okay, now, Pastor Elizabeth, you have collected yourself, you have come to terms with your past, and now you're living a different life as a victor. But there are those, when you speak of your past, that look at you different. Have you ever experienced that?
Most definitely, starting from my family, because they know bits and pieces of the story, part of the story that I actually tell, because there's still other parts that I've been talking about in over the years. That change that happened in me, I knew something had changed when I began loving my father and praying for him and thinking well of him. And the more I did that, the more he rejected me, the more he beat me up, the more he insulted me. So I faced what you're asking, starting from home. My father expected, having come from Alliance Girls, I was supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer, some of these big titles. And then I end up in KU to do music and education. And I remember his words very well that Monday in 1992. You are a failure, you have disappointed me, you will never make it with education and music. You'll never succeed as a teacher. So he actually refused to pay school fees. He paid first year. He paid first year, first semester. The rest of the time, I did what I knew, what I'd been taught to do, pray and fast, that I get bursary and pay my way through school. And that's exactly how I paid my university fees. You only pay the first time, I had to pay the rest. So I would, of course, fill the forms, and then hopefully I would get partial bursary. I have cleaned people's homes. I have been house girl. I did so many of those things for years just to make sure I have that extra for campus. But that did not stop. His comments, for some reason, his comments pushed me to the positive side. because I saw something different written in the Bible, different from what he was calling me, useless, disappointment, you'll never make it. And I'm reading the Bible, and the Bible is telling me something different. You see, the thing, Gladys, about humble beginnings is because it's beginnings speak of structure, foundations, what informs your value system, your belief system. It's not what people do to you. It's what you do with what people do to you or what people say about you. So the more my father told me, you'll never make it, you're useless, why are you going to KU, you're Satanist and all that, the more I worked so hard to go to the other side to prove his prophecy wrong. and Gladys, allow me to just summarize this. When my father was dying, he died in 2014. In November 2014, I went to see him 2 months before that, asked him to forgive me. Just, I always used to clear my files with him just to make things right. Took him something, a gift, tell him, Daddy, this is what I've worked for. Please receive this money. That for some reason that day he agreed, because he used to actually throw away. I would give him money and he throws it in the air. But that day he agreed, and I told him, Dad, I need your blessing because I'm a teacher, I'm a preacher, I'm a musician. I know you wanted me to be a doctor, but I'm not all that. Please bless me. He asked me, why don't you pray? So I prayed for him, then he blessed me. That's the last time I saw him alive. Long story short, a week before he died, he called my mother. My mother is a first wife. Called her and asked him to forgive her. Asked her to forgive him for all the years of abuse. And he told her these words, tell Liz to please forgive me for the years I persecuted her, I rejected her, I hated her, how I attacked her. I noticed her obedience. She never stopped honoring me. She continued obeying me. So when I was doing all those things, trying to make things right with the Father God gave me, I didn't know he was noticing my efforts. So in his last days, he mentioned that in the blessing he left with my mother. And of course, a week later, he died. So now, when I was burying my father's body, I was saying, I'm burying a free man, a forgiven man, and I'm forgiven as well. So anyway, I can tell you so many stories, Gladys, but I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And definitely, Caroline, it brings to perspective that it is very important not only to be self-aware, but also to be aware of the baggage you carry around. Speak about letting go of that.
Oh my goodness. What most people don't understand is the power of our subconscious mind, the engine running behind that is actually causing us to act the way we do, to think the way we do. It's like we are on a computer program. So if you want to know why you're doing what you're doing, why you're procrastinating, why you have no clarity of vision, why, look at the operating system. And where to look is from 0 to 7 years. How was your life then? What are some of the things you might have believed at that time that you're running on right now? I remember when I was growing up, we used to live in a very insecure place. And having a TV would cause like chaos because thugs would come to your house and they would break the doors and they would harm you guys just to get that TV. And so I grew up knowing that wealth is risky. It is not safe to be wealthy or to be seen as wealthy. So even the times that I've had money, even the times that I've had abundance, I have been unconsciously hiding, you know? And so that in itself, just that one experience that I'm sharing can cause you to toil the rest of your life and not knowing, why am I not accumulating wealth? Why am I feeling like this? Why, you know? So the questions, the quality of your life is determined by the questions you ask yourself. So if you ask yourself empowering questions, you will live an empowered life. So it's very important for you to understand yourself, know what's running in the background, what beliefs are structuring your life. And when you know that, begin to understand that your value is not pegged on your experiences. Your value is based on your divine nature, the breath of God that is within you. That is the only determinant of your value. So no matter what you go through, no matter what you acquire or don't acquire or what you lose, that doesn't, touch on your value. And I like what Duncan was saying, that people need to accept no as an answer. And for me, no is not rejection, because it just tells you that you're not aligned to that person, you're not aligned to that opportunity. So no is not rejection. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting whatever it is that you're offering them. So people need to understand themselves, become as self-aware as possible, and then take charge. Pastor is talking about being a victor. It's about your self-identity. From self-awareness, determine your self-identity. Because the minute you are identified as lazy, as, you know, the power of I am, you know, the minute you say, I am tired, immediately, it's like you've switched on Word on the computer. It comes on immediately. So when you say, I am tired, you begin to embody tiredness. And there's nothing, you are the king in your kingdom, and whatever you say goes. So when you say, I am this, I am that, self-identity. So begin to reinforce an identity that serves you. Begin to, and that's why I'm saying be clear on your goal, be clear on what you're going, where you're going, be clear on what you want to manifest, and then focus all your energy on that.
Yeah. We are talking about the treasures of humble beginnings, because therein is a foundation that harnesses you for the rest of your life and the seasons you come across in life. Now, we asked you, have you ever been rejected? Have you ever been mistreated because you did not have money? And you are talking to us. And it's interesting, a lot of experiences out here. Okello says, nishawahi pakua nyama kwa wenyewe nikaambiwa unakula nyama kwani wewe ni simba. Ai jameni. Benson Moremi says, not once, not twice, not thrice. Benson, tell us more. Tell us more. We have another one from Rowena Lones, who says, yes, by my own sisters. And as Pastor Lizzie is saying, that can really hurt when it comes that close. Monroe Ivy says, yes, and be called names. If you have no money, to some people, you are nothing. Unfortunately so. Monica Gushu says, yes, by my own friends. Tell us more, Monica. Guya Julia says, it's part of life. It also means someone feels he or she has more money than you. Suleiman says, I remember like a few years, an administration police slapped me because I didn't have kitu kidogo. But all in all, I just thank God I'm still alive. I pray that God will revenge on my behalf. Suleiman, we hear you. Dalila Flower says, yes, they only recognize you when you have cash. When jobless, you won't see the so-called friends. Again, weeding out those friends. That season is very important. Mosoti says, kama huna pesa hata kwa familia or family meeting, huna nafasi ya kuongea, and they serve you crest or stony soda, wengine wakipewa Fanta. Coke Sprite. Wow. Keep talking to us. Hashtag new normal, even as we understand your experiences of living without money, being in that humble beginning. You have nothing much to your name and going through that process. And remember, we are learning, because this morning we've got to go back where it all began and check again if we set the right foundations. We take a short break. When we come back, we'll hear more from our panelists.
Top dressing tips. Top dressing is the application of fertilizers to boost harvest in growth period. Ensure the soil is moist, and in warm weather, ensure you mulch to avoid evaporation.
More than 500,000 farmers in Kenya can have easy access at affordable packs of 1 kg to 50 kg across major agro dealers. Farmers who have used Mavuno fertilizers have realized 30% more yield. Please feed your crop and soil with the best fertilizers for future prosperity. Call us today and learn how Mavuno fertilizers is helping in increasing food production in Africa.
The super efficient Jiko Koa requires half the charcoal of other Jikos, so you use less fuel and receive immediate savings. Enjoy our special offer now and save 1,000 Kenya shillings with every purchase. Jiko Koa, Kenya's #1 saving Jiko.
Oh my, oh my, oh my days. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Never understood. Never understood. Life can be this good.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Pants is just for me. It really feels very comfy.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Karatina University wishes to announce to all new and continuing students that lectures of the first semester of the 2020-2021 academic year are ongoing. New students' university joining instructions and details on creation of e-learning account for all students are on the university website. Payment of requisite fees is a requirement.
Best quality KEBS certified steel. TMT steel bars. Produced from the most modern machines and technology. Reliable and with the highest strength. Suitable for all types of construction. That is, high-rise buildings, bridges, houses and roads.
Look for the Devki mark on a wider selling reinforcement, twisted and TMT rebars, which are KBS certified and have the diamond mark of quality. Devki Steel, Kenya's most trusted steel company.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught us about plague. He told us that if it's happening in a place, don't go. And if you are in a place that is happening, don't come out. Prophet was preparing us for quarantine, and he was also telling us to take precaution, that we should not be agents or carriers of the virus. It should not be us who are going to carry the virus, take it to our congregations. For this reason, our congregations, we've decided that since faith is in the heart and everybody knows where his faith is, we have taken this time to stay at home, pray at home, do our prayers, because when you're at home, you are still with your Lord. God will not forsake you for being at home because you are not in the mosque, but know that even at home, you can still pray to God that He helps us in this big independent pandemic that is in the world.
It's
time to kickstart your smart and give your brain a mega boost with DSTV. There's oodles of mind-blowing channels for kids young all together now. To get your knowledge workout, get connected to DSTV.
It is your world. My name is Gladys Gashanja as we talk about the treasures of a humble beginnings this morning. Still with me in studios, Caroline Gaiduma, who is a transformation coach, Pastor Lisa Kenyu, who is a mentor and also a gospel artist, Simon Ofubo, he's the CEO of N Wealth, and Duncan Kiprotich, who is the founder of Gownsi Limited. Thank you all for staying with us. And before we get to it, Brian Moshiri went out, did some digging, and found two prominent young people who came from nothing to something and got them to share their personal experiences of how a little bit of money had made them or the people around them change. Brian?
Hi, my name is Brian Mushiri and this is Your Voice, the segment that takes me to the streets to find out what you have to say on different topics. Today, however, I am in studio because I went to do things different. I'm hosting a short and sweet roundtable where we will be discussing humble beginnings. Are you where you are 5 or 10 years ago, or have you made strides and gained some level of success? What did people say? How did they react? With that in mind, on my table, I have Nikon Chege, popularly known as Katelo, a comedian and content creator. I also have Brenda Jones. You might know her as Mama President Kingston. She's also a content creator. So guys, niko na swali leo. As you are coming up on top, ni kuna mtu alikudharau juu kuwa na pesa, yani ulisema tu mse yake tu amenifanyia ile kitu juu sikuwa na kitu. Brenda?
Of course. I think ina happeninga kila mtu.
Juu kuwa na kitu.
Nilikuwa pabaya by the way. So ilikuwa actually 2018.
2018?
Yes. Ini last year part 1. Sikuwa na rent. Nimefungiwa hao. Ilikuwa around date 18. So nimefungiwa hao. So sikuwa na nguo za kwenda job. Nilikuwa nafanya TV show. So a popular one. So sina nguo za kwenda show. So nikarudi, nimeendala kwa bishti yangu 2 days, nikarudi nikaambia madhe, niaje nifungulia tu nyumba angalau nichukue nguo za job ndio nipate za kwenda kesho. My G. Mama alinishautia. Akaniambia, "Toka hapa uende. Nijue una pesa. Unataka mzee wangu?" Mimi wasichana mnaishi hapa mnataka kulala na mzee wangu? Otherwise hakunifungulia. We have kujisort.
Kufungulia. Boss, the newest father in town, Buddha. Sasa Buddha, wewe umetoka wapi na ushaifanywa ile kitu ati juu kuwa na kitu kuwa na pesa?
I think zenye zilipatia machungu sana. Kuna kakiateka fulani. Lakini jana hao kakiateka. Jana hao kakiateka kwanza. Hao kakiateka mambo yake tu ni ngumu tu. Lakini wale wanakuwa na madharau lakini anyway kuna mdenge hapo hivi, kuna mdenge nilikuwa na yeye.
Mdenge ni nini?
Sasa utupeleke pole pole.
Ngeu stu fulani hapo 2018 hapo.
Oh, ni msichana.
Msichana.
Alinivuruga sana. Unajua sasa ule unajifanya hapo unataka mapenzi na unataka una finance, una financial support na unataka na hapo umechukua demo wa kisosa hapo. Nilionyesha ngwa mambo.
Kwani kuliendaje?
Nilikuwa na face madharau I think ka day yani tu. Nilikuwa hata I think nilikuwa nalianga ilikuwa noma sana, ilikuwa noma juu ilikuwa ile madharau ya una do, so anakucheza tu na wasi wako na do, anakwambia vitu tu, familia yake inakwambia ikudai, wanamsukumia hata boy mwingine mwenye yako na do, una get. Kwa nimecheza mara 6 na watu wa 6 different tu, nikijiambianga tu.
Ndio umetulia tu hapo.
Nimeshikilia gari ya moshi hapa, utaenda? Kwani hiyo unadhani sasa kuna mahali kwingine pia utaenda nini usaidike? I think hiyo ndio ilikuwa inakuanga experience yangu yenye ilikuwa wastara. Ni story refu tu but wewe tujua niliteseka.
Ulifanya ile kitu. Hata
niliumia
kitu. By the way, juu ya hiyo story kabla mimi nikuje NTV tunafaa tuulize Brenda what happened. Nini mbaya na tuseme mabinti hivi, hata pia najua pia wewe perhaps umekuwa approached time juu kama kijana na kakitu buda ana struggle. Anaumia.
Kumia ndio anaumia
So shida ni sisi.
No, ningependa tu tueleze nini maybe shida kwa nini mnataka kakitu hivi ama.
I think saa zingine ni pia pressure. Kuna ile mabishti wangu wanapelekwa ma places na machali wao. Alafu wewe tuko hapa na wewe na unanipeleka kula madondo. Aish.
Asi unajua unaambia mtu siku moja tutaomoka. Unajua nilikuwa naambia huyu mtu. Nilikuwa naambia mtu naambia sikiza. Wewe uko na wazazi. Sawa? Na uko hata uko hata unafanyanga kazi. Siku moja jipange alafu siku moja tu tutaomoka. Asiwache kunifanyia hivyo.
Sasa pia pressure mabishti wangu.
Sasa juu wewe uko single room na huyu akona one bedroom. So ati sasa akucheze na yeye. Unajua ndio tulikuwa ina happen.
Ati unajua nataka pale pakubwa pa kuosha.
Kwani hapana.
Watu wanapelekwa Naivasha huko, wewe bado unanipeleka hapa.
Mimi nilikuwa nampeleka Ngaocha, kwanza nisijaipeleka Murang'a.
Ocha sasa. Na watu wanapelekwa huko.
Kuna unasikia hapa Murang'a hapa. Pako na ma waterfall hapo na hizo ma river. Unaona swim.
Watu wanaenda Masai Mara unanipeleka Murang'a.
Baadhi kitu hiyo story by the way. Mimi nilikuwa naniumiza sana because nilikuwa nimekaa na dem for 2 years. Ni miaka 2 tu. But nilikuwa na forgive tu juu nasema
labda tu
pia nikitoka hapa labda ata change ama na every time nilikuwa nampata kwa ngori yoyote ama nampata na boy mwingine na nini nilikuwa najua tu ni juu ya do najua huyo boy yako na do
ako na kakitu
na mimi at the same time nilikuwa nauzanga maziwa yole nilikuwa nazungushanga maziwa ile maziwa ya kupima so namrushia hata kakitu ile kidogo yenye napata mimi mrushianga alafu siku fulani hapo anakamkejani kuna time nimechanga nimeenda kulipa keja akaniombanga dhao nikamjenga dhao nikamjenga kenge tu hivyo tap
atike
ni kenge si nimemjenga kenge
my god
anyway
alafu hiyo siku jioni amekaa so tumekaa pale hivi nimekaa hapo hivi na katenje kake nikicheza hapo hivi nikajua hata siku anamukia mimi siku anatenje naona ati thanks for the lunch Babo yanambia thanks for the lunch
just pain kifua
kizao kyangu unajua kizao kwenye kilikuwa kimetoka wewe before kipite hapo lakini ni ngori hivyo ni ngori
inakuanga hivyo kila mtu akona stories
zake ni
kubaya tu narrative
imechange pia nyinyi machali mnataka mademu wako na do
na
narrative imechange
si imechange pia nyinyi mko hivyo siku hizi mtaki pia nyinyi mademu wako broke
malifa lazima iwe hata na nini si lazima kuwe na kitu wewe tu kaa
but kuna machali wako hivyo
nikuulize Brenda wewe ushaisikia kijana ameacha msichana juu kuwa na
pesa juu na do
wapi kama hiyo ndio ilikuwa intention yake
ulisikia wapi
hakuna
ati udem nilimwacha juana do wapi
bado kuna watu wako hivyo imagine
juali sasa wewe nikuulize sasa tuseme kama tuko na wewe unaweza kuja kuishi kwa bed sitter yangu na wewe uko na one bedroom
noma
ngumu
kujanga kwangu so kujanga kwangu
kejali bireni
kucheza awe
ucheze awe
lakini ideally kila mtu upitia hata mimi I think kuna time nikijipandisha tu kuna msee tu director aliniambia you know kijana you young man why are you trying this thing and you know you'll never make it why you
I think pia ni ngori nyingine pia mimi nishaipata kuna time nishaambiwa ngwani siwa hiyo nekana kwa audition
juu umeenda sana
si juu nimeenda sana waliniambianga ni wewe hata wewe si msanii waliniambia nikafungue hardware
guy
Nilikuwa nikafungue hardware ni kitambo kidogo hapo hivi nilikuwa na audition ananiambia
wow as in I think kila mtu maze ni on the way up na najua hata Brenda na Katelo you have mko na mabeshte wa young ladies young gents my friends wenu wenye mnataka at least wa grow si ndio si kuna story yenye unawaambia lazima trust the process trust the process thank you very much guys you say come through asanteni sana so guys this is it where you are today is not the end of the road. These are just but a few stories, and everyone has their own. Treasure your humble beginning and trust the process. Ata say hawajafika, they are still on their way. My name is Brian Mushiri. Cheers.
Amazing discussion there, led by Brian Mushiri, and everyone was smiling because even as we were trying to figure out the sheng in there, we understood the pain. We could feel the pain from the panelists. And Caroline, these are young people expressing what they've already gone through, and they're still at it, still young. What should be of importance, considering the dynamics of growing up nowadays has totally changed?
And people are so exposed to social media and influencers, and we are, because we are seeing it on posts on Instagram, we are thinking it's instant, because it's not normal for people to say, oh, this was my struggle, like even 2 months down the line before I got this brand ambassadorship. You know, somebody won't say that. So the kids out there are thinking that it's that fast, it's that quick. When they come back to their real life, it's such a hassle. And now value is equals to Kenya shillings or dollar signs. So when you don't have money, people are even asking you, when you are nini? You know, what are you for? Like if you can't buy me lunch, or, you know, and people actually do not acknowledge the struggles that even these young people are going through, even just having to process that. I remember when I was young, I'm just remembering this now, I was starting out and I was really determined to make it out there, but my peers were doing so well. Their retainers were like 70 Gs, 40 Gs. Me, I didn't even have a job or an internship. And I decided I'm going to somehow get into this thing. And I came to town. I was hired as a merchandiser for some certain company. And it was funny because you would sell different products every day. Like you go, drop your ID, and then pick items, and then hawk in town. And then tomorrow, you go, like on my second day, I was shocked. I left my ID, I was given hot pots. I got orders, bring me kesho, I don't have money today. The following morning, I went to take my ID. We were given dollies that were singing Macarena. And you know now, you have to duck because you are on Moi Avenue and everyone is waiting for their order. They see you, where's it happy? And you're like, that's money I should have made. But here I am selling dollies. So you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what it takes them to even just cope. And social media is not making it easier. So, I mean, let's just love on people. Let's just show people that, you know, I might not buy your thing today, but I'm just rooting for you somehow. You know, and then show people your journey. Because the more we are out there with our journey, the more it will begin to make sense for them. Their own journey will begin to make sense for them. Because now, how are you telling me, I saw you last week, you are driving, right now you're driving a Beamer, it's been 3 months, and you're telling me that my struggle is the process. It can't be the process. So anywhere I see a shortcut, I'll take the shortcut, because I have seen, like you have taken a shortcut and you're making it. So let's share our journeys as well.
Makes a lot of sense, and that's why we're having this conversation this morning. And we are now joined by Alvin Gatitu, aka Alvin Love. He is a content creator and also an artist. Thank you for joining us. And before we get to hear from him, let me bring in Simon. Simon, some of the comments and feedback we were reading before we went to break alluded to the importance of knowing who your friends are. And for some reason, your status in society can actually help you figure out who those are. What is your experience?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. And I would say that often we are the average of 5 people around you, because the ecosystem of people around you then constitute what you call your social capital. And in your social capital, you draw value from them to
Okay, we're struggling with that connection. Let's go over to Duncan. Duncan, what is your experience with friends? Because I think in those humble beginnings is when you really know who your true friends are, right?
That's true, Gladys. Actually, I always tell my friends the best time to find maybe even a woman, even a wife, is when you're broke. Because all these fake friends, I don't call them friends, you'll get to sift them out. When you're broke, people even don't want to work with you until now they see there's something cooking or you're growing to something is when they start giving you, inquiring, not giving you business, inquiring and pretending that they're really interested and go and buy that shop. So I really believe the hustle, the grind around it is helps you sift your friends away. And another thing, social media is really a good thing, especially for us. It helps us to really expand our businesses. But for the youth, it's really misleading, as people will always show their best aspects of their life, and there's a competition aspect of it. So it's really depressing to the youth when you see another person really posting that good car. Maybe you school with them. It makes you really feel terrible. But always know that it's not what it shows. It's not always what it shows. There is a background story behind it, and always try to find yours. Strive to find yours. Yes.
Okay, Victor here is saying, oh, gari za Instagram, you never know, labda ako kwa kaya, no nadhania ni yake. Let's bring in Alvin. Alvin, you came to Kenyans at a time where you had hit rock bottom, and at that point, you actually got to know who your real friends are, but with time, things looked up. I wonder, have these friends come back?
Yes, they all came back. They all came back in a flood, and it's one of those things that can, when it happens to you, it can trick your mind in a certain way, and you start. I don't know. It just messes you up in your mind, because you wonder where they were when you were going down and when you were broken, and now all of a sudden it looks like you are maybe a little better or okay, and they're here saying you should have called me, you should have, you know, you can always call me, and these are people you would call, and like you leave them 5 missed calls and they would not call you back. And I mean, it just tricks your mind, and you have to get to the place where you ask God for wisdom.
Alvin, let me stop you. Let me stop you at that point. We seem to get to be getting a crackling in your sound. Let's fix that, and then we'll come back to your experience. Do we have Simon back? Do we have Simon back? Simon, go ahead. You were telling us about your experiences with friends and humble beginnings. Okay, then let's hear from Liz. I mean, you have put yourself together. You are even, or rather, you know, supporting others from your own testimony and helping them get out of bad situations. But it takes a lot for somebody to either understand you or for you to let people in. Talk about that.
Working in church is pressure by itself. Right now, the nation is looking at the church like, what can the church do for us? Especially in this COVID time, we've never been so attacked as pastors and preachers. And rightfully so. However, it's all a mind shift. It's all a mind shift. That the change has to be inward. The change has to be in the person. Having gone through what some of the things I've narrated, and then I end up, I've taught in schools, yes, at different levels, primary, high school, college, and then I've also worked in church. Now, I'm looking at working in church. What has made people connect to this Pastor Liz is the authenticity of my testimony, what Carol was talking about, not hiding or being shy to talk about some of the things we've been through. I notice every time I speak about 1 or 2 things I've been through, the congregation relates to it. They can connect to it. Because people look at the clergy like these people who have reached, these people who connect, these people who are tight with God, these people who almost speak to God face to face. So it's important for us as clergy to be relatable, to be accessible, to be authentic, to let people in on some of our humble beginnings. Yes, we preach scripture, but can some of the teaching aids be practical examples of some of the things we've gone through? That has helped me. It helped me greatly when I pastored teenagers in our church in 2016. It helped me with K-Crew Bible Study, where I still mentor the singers there. It helped me with Afleo, one of the biggest worship or music ministries, Christian music ministries in Kenya. It helped because a lot of, actually over 90% of the people who come and say, come and mentor me, coach me, mentor me, coach me. When we start talking, almost 100% of them have been through abuse, have been through rape, have been through domestic violence. So when I tell them my story, they're able to connect, to relate. You mean pastors go through rape? You know, pastors, you mean there's a pastor who's gone through violence? So I agree with Carol. If people are going to connect with me as a pastor, especially in this generation that asks questions, this generation that asks you, pasi, kwani God yuko wapi? God alikuwa wapi nikirepiwa? Na nimeokoka na nilirepiwa. Alikuwa nataka ni do. You know, they talk to us gut level truth, raw gospel. And if I'm just plastic, getting scriptures of the concordance and teaching, then I'm actually literally shutting people from my world. And it takes vulnerability to a degree of vulnerability to be able to say, this is what I dealt with, this is where I am, but this is how I got out of it. And then it can, I've used that to help so many young people, so many young girls who get pregnant, even while they're in church, even while they're on pulpit, worship leaders that I know, wasanii that I know, I keep that confidentially. People we work with that the nation talks about, this one has backslidden, this one has gone secular, this one is no longer singing sacred. I look for some of those people, my friends, and I look for some of those people, and we work with them and we tell them, you can make it. You can make it. So my background has had a very, very major stone in what I'm doing today, working a lot with young people, not just the singing, the talent part, but the relatability, the life, the real life, how they are doing, how are they doing emotionally, besides being famous. Do they have a bank account? Yeah. Those are some of the raw questions we ask young people. So that's how I would explain how I connect with people.
Okay,
yes.
And again, as we said, one man's testimony could be another's lifeline, and that's why we're having this conversation, just to remind ourselves that when the struggle is happening, this is not your destination. There is much more ahead of you, but it takes you to actually make it happen by sticking to your guns. We'll be right back as we hear from the other panelists in as far as their experiences when it comes to friends and what it has helped them in their journey. Stay with us.
Safaricom iko na 500 MB free kila siku.
Get 500 MB free kila siku and never miss a moment. Dial *544# to activate your offer. Browse bila was on Kenya's best network.
It looks like Lushan is sticking her nose into things that are none of her business.
This isn't the right time.
He was always after me and everything was just going great until Marta got in the way, just as she did with your father.
If there's anything that concerns my children, you have to tell me about it. Do you understand?
Excuse me for interfering, but if Luciana
But still, she doesn't have any right to keep from me anything that has to do with my children.
Yes, but
I don't even want to think about how much trouble she's in.
Luciana, the fact that I can't be with you doesn't mean that I can just forget everything I feel for you.
Are you alright, Madam Lillian? Is anything wrong? It's nothing you can fix. Nobody has the cure for love problems.
Along came love in association with Blue Band Peanut Butter.
Dr. Rabbit, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
I see you're all ready for bed.
I'm supposed to brush my teeth.
That's right.
really becoming a brushing pro.
Thanks. I have a good teacher.
Do you need to send your parcel or document during this period? The Nation Courier Services, with over 15 years of distribution experience, will deliver it for you. We deliver to every corner of Kenya due to our strong distribution network. Have overnight door-to-door service and same-day intra-city service with the security and safety of the client's shipment guaranteed. Your parcel is our priority. We'll deliver it for you. Contact us for delivery on courier services at ke.nationmedia.com or call 0719 038 739.
You're finally getting married.
I have the target in sight. I'm just waiting for your signal.
I know that our marriage was filled with challenges and problems, but if we could still fix things, you just can't live with the fact that I'm the one your husband chose. This isn't over yet.
It's time to kickstart your smart and give your brain a mega boost with DSTV. There's oodles of mind-blowing channels for kids young all together now. To get your knowledge workout, get connected to DSTV.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gashanja. As I had mentioned, we are also joined by Alvin Gatitu, aka Alvin Love. He's a content creator and artist. You met him a few months back when he was going through a rough time and he faced rejection from friends, but there are those who actually came through for him, and today he speaks of a different life. And before we were cut short, Alvin, we were talking about how these friends deserted you and wondering if some of them actually came back when things looked like they were good for you.
Yes, most definitely. That is, they all came back. They, I mean, in our phone calls, some of them even asking, where are you now? Where are you staying? Can I come see you? Can we sit down and talk? And of course, at that point, I'll be very honest, I was hurt. I was in a place where I just want to guard myself and not let anyone in, because these are the same people I would call and leave them like 5 missed calls, 6 missed calls or whatever, or try to call them over the day when I was going through that stuff. Because you see, it didn't just happen in one day. Like what people saw was the end of, but there was this entire process, the entire period where, I mean, it was a struggle. And now someone is here and they're like, you should have called me, you should have said something. And I'm like, but I tried. And then you don't know what to do. And some of them, you know, some had some crocodile tears also. Oh my gosh, you guys should have said you were going through that. I'm like, yeah, I tried to talk to you, I tried to call you, and I would go into my phone and like give the call logs, just show, I tried to call you this day, there's a blue tick here, several blue ticks here. And, you know, just got to a point where I was like, okay, God, you know, it has happened the way it has happened. I want you to heal me and help me let go and forgive. Of course, wiser, not as stupid or as foolish as I might have been earlier, to just ask God to help me forgive and be with them. But of course, in a better, more understanding and wise way. And I allowed myself even to hang out with you know, some of them. And yeah.
Okay, and you talk about being older and wiser from your experiences, and earlier we mentioned the importance of being self-aware and accepting the process. For you, you said this was the journey, what we saw was the end of. In retrospect, have you learned from those mistakes? Are you better for it?
Oh my Lord. Yes, I have. What you may not, or I think you would, Gladys, because we are friends, and I think we've talked once or twice about the kind of person that I am. I'm the kind of person who opens up my heart to everyone, or at least open, like, if you come around me, you just feel love. I'm that kind of person. I don't put people in boxes. I don't judge. I'm very accepting. And it's because of the grace that God has given, when he says that, you know, to whom is forgiven much, they also love more. So I live in a place called love, but then as you open up your hearts to love, you might just be opening up your heart to hurt, and it might hurt you, and then you need to just take the same heart and take it back to God and tell him, God, this was my heart, you gave me this, so you have to give me wisdom to know how to handle it, because above all things, the Bible says, guard your heart. And you got to know what to do where, when. I have had to pray. I have had to just lose my mind in prayer and tell God, you know what, I don't want a hard heart. I don't want to be looking at people and going like, you did help me, now you are coming here to talk to me. No, I don't want that kind of thing. Because that will probably it will destroy me more than it would even try to hurt anyone else. So define your heart and going to the place where you know that it is God who holds you together. It is God who sustains you. Yes, your friends will be there. They will come in and out. And I promise you, this is not the last time I get to see those kind of friends. Maybe there will be something else in the future somewhere where you call someone in the middle of the night and you just needed something really like an emergency, and then that person lets you down. I've had to ask God to just help me create a culture of forgiveness and knowing and having wisdom, and asking the Holy Spirit to show you what's coming so that you're ready for it. Because again, God doesn't want you to just sit there and be hurt by your friends all the time. To know that he's the one who sustains you, he's the one who holds you together, and just help you rise up and be wiser and be stronger, because in this world, it's a jungle. It's a crazy, crazy world.
Okay, and Alvin, even as we say, we are trying to figure out this jungle that is life. When you talk about humble beginnings, I mean, this was just one of the other beginnings that you needed to actually face and start over. But even in your career, there is somewhere you started off where no one actually knew you, recognized you, gave you the privilege that came with you being, you know, a superstar because of what you do. What are the lessons there that have helped you survive where you are today?
One of the biggest lessons I have learned along the way is that just like God created the sun and the moon, day and night, summer and winter, there are seasons. Our lives have seasons, and you have to acknowledge, know what season you're in, appreciate the season for the good things and the bad things, because it is in appreciating that season and embracing it that you'll understand where you are, where you're going, and you'll be able to hold on to the things that are valuable and let the things that are not valuable. Because let me just give a hypothetical example. Winter, it's cold. Winter is cold. We don't have winter, but sometimes, I mean, like a few weeks ago, everyone was sort of freezing. But winter is a very quiet time. If you look at countries where it snows, it's a very quiet time. A lot of people go into maybe sometimes depression. You don't have that much warmth around you, especially if you're maybe single. It's a hard time, because and you have to probably eat more. You have to heat your house a little bit more. You have to drink warm things. But then if you look at winter, there's a beauty to it, because I won't call it the season of isolation. It's time when then God probably is calling you to look inward and look at yourself and allow him to look into your heart. It's your time to be alone with God and be warm with him. And then when summer comes, now we can come out here wearing vests and shorts. There's just seasons, and along the way, of course, there are days when, you know, I had a good job, a very good job. I remember my first job as a worship leader in a church back in 2005. I was earning 80,000 bob a month, and we're talking about after taxes, and that was a season. I was young, of course. I was foolish, and there are things that I did then that were not profitable. There were things that I did then that probably I would say would hurt me instead of helping me. And it was a season, and after that, the job goes down, and now I'm out, and I'm out on the streets, and I go back. I remember just going to Mombasa for like 2 weeks. There was this lady from the church who told me, "You can come over." And while I was there, that was winter. I had summer. I just came from summer, and here is winter. And this was me sitting on the beach, thinking and asking God, where do you want me to go? What direction are you taking me? Because this brook has dried. Now, here is another, like, are you providing me another brook? This river has dried. And this, seeing that God is the sustainer of all things, it will be, you do yourself an absolute favor to inquire from God what season I am in. So you take out the valuable things and you keep them and treasure them. And then the things that probably are not so favorable, you can let go of them because they're seasons. And at the end of the day, it's really God. Yes.
I hear you, Alvin, and I believe we now have Simon, but on phone, we're struggling with his section. And Simon, before we lost you, you said the value of the friends around you say a lot also about you and your outcome. Continue.
Yeah, thank you so much for... I'm sorry about the connectivity, but just to say that the friends around you would constitute what you call our social capital. Every dream must feed to be able to grow, to mature, to bear fruits that will also then benefit the society. But dreams would feed from the community of stakeholders around you. So the choice of friends that we have around us, in a way, can either kill the dream within us or inspire the dream within us. And it's always important for one to pay close attention to that. And personally, I would have friends that would cut across church because I'm a believer in Christ. And then I will also have friends that help me to read, to get better in my career. I would also have friends around my family that helps me to have my family stand. So again, even in terms of relationship, it's good to balance it out.
And for you, Duncan, what is your mantra when it comes to the people you allow to surround you?
First of all, I like to surround myself. I believe that on that saying, like, if you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you're probably going to be the 6th. So my choice of friends are really important to me. I'd rather have very old friends than even my age mates, but people who are motivating, who have goals, and who are walking on the same journey with me. Because negativity can be shared, actually, same as positive. If you surround yourself with positive people, the more positive you'll be. And yes, I think that's the best way to live.
And Pastor Lizzie, you are a mentor, so definitely you know and value the importance of walking with others. But if you have had people walk with you, talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people.
I appreciate the people God has put in my life that have walked with me. Someone like Christine Vulimu, who is in her 60s, who has walked with me for over 20 years. And many other people, George Ronga, people the world might never get to hear about. People that have been mentors and coaches Reverend Julian Kula of the Papa Center Church. That's my senior pastor, one of the most secure leaders I know, who actually was so excited that I was coming to NTV today. People who believe in you. I appreciate what Alan, Duncan, and Simon have said about the value of friendship. And yet, some time back, I heard Mike Maddox say something, that it is important to recognize the enemy God wants you to use to promote you. For example, Goliath. We would never have heard of David if Goliath was not in the picture. We would never have heard of, Jesus would never probably have ended on the cross without a Judas. I remember sometimes God will even use the betrayer, the friend who seemed like that didn't, to push us into what he actually wants us to get into. In 2014, I got into bad books with my leadership, the church where I was before I got to Papa Center, and it's friends who are behind it. And I got to try the leadership. Pastor Lisa said this and that and the other, and I was actually publicly corrected, reprimanded for it because I was a church leader. There were standards there, and I do understand the entire process of disciplining. Pastors go through discipline as well. Things don't always just look nice. We are not always praying and singing holy, holy, holy all the time. We also have our own dramas and issues. And I was going through one of that in 2014. Battled with depression because I'd served for 17 years. And so I was looking and thinking, I'm now 40. Whoa. This thing just broke my heart. And yet that was the turning point, because Mrs. Vulimu kept talking to me. It's not what people say about you. It's not what your friends have done. Where does God want this to lead you to? And long story short, I ended up going back to the leadership, reconciling. I didn't immediately leave the church. Actually, I felt, stay here. Don't prove anyone's prophecy right. Stay in this. 5 months, I stayed in that, went and reconciled with leadership, properly booked an appointment, went through every step. In fact, took a gift to say thank you for the 17 years, and got an official letter to say we now send you to, we now release you to your next assignment. And that's how I ended up at Papa Center Church, gave Reverend Julian Kula the letter. Today, I am glad that my friends set me up, even though it was pastoral, even though it was leadership. So I understand church drama. And so sometimes it's good, glad is what you're talking about, friendship. But it's also sometimes even God uses even the ones that are seemingly friends, the betrayers, the offenders, the whisperers, everyone. It's not about them, it's about you. What are you going to do with it? Where does God want to use this ugly situation to lead you to? I probably wouldn't be on NTV today if that incident had not happened. So I'm so grateful for my leadership, for the discipline, just for the discipline in ministry. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Always having a lesson in every circumstance and every situation. I like your thinking. And Caroline, we've heard from everyone about the importance of recognizing seasons, importance of recognizing who you walk with in the different seasons and appreciating the same. Talk about the importance of being aware of dream killers and dream bearers.
Yeah, and I think this has everything to do with what Liz has said about, I want to give an analogy. This is a grand play. This is a grand movie, and you're the star of the movie of your life, and there are characters that have been placed to thicken the plot and to sharpen you, to get you to where the hero always gets, to win, to conquer their internal and external limitations. And this is what this whole grand play is. And sometimes we are so lost in the play that we forget it's a play and these people are playing characters, and then we jump in and attack them, or we get too attached to others. And so the thing is to just pull out a bit and just take an observer's view of your life and say, what part does this person play? What part does this other person play? So that you're able to see who is riding you, edging you into the direction of your dreams, because at the end of the day, it's your movie, it's your plot. There is a goal that you have, and it's been placed in you by God. So get in touch with that, and that's what will give you clarity. If you don't have that, you will not be able to distinguish between the dream killers and the divine helpers. You will not, because what will inform that? You know, so you have to first of all dig deep within yourself, find your core essence, find your connection with God, and find your purpose. When you find your purpose, then you will have a direction, and then you will now see everybody in the context of that. Yeah.
Okay, we have to put this conversation to rest, but I've learned a lot and really had a good laugh while at it. Now, I remember growing up, our teacher always told us in primary school, it is easy to be number one, but it's harder to stay number one. So you've gone through your humble beginnings, all the life's lessons, you are in a better place in life. I'd like everyone to give me like 30 seconds of the lessons they've learned and what they do to ensure they stay number one. I'll start off with you, Simon.
Dream. It should be so huge that you are so sure you will fail unless God helps you.
Your dream should be so big that you are?
So sure you will fail unless God helps you.
Very well said. Very well said. We know where he taps his wisdom and strength from. Thank you, Simon. Alvin, you have gone through the seasons of life and you are in a better place today. What do you hang on to ensure that you keep moving forward?
One of the things that has really helped my heart lately, especially with that transition that I just came out of, I've been reading this book. It's called Fire in the Soul. And it's by Joanna Borisenko. There's one statement that totally made my heart, like just freed my heart. And I'm just going to read it. It says, darkness is the greatest awakener. In facing adversity, I can and I do find my freedom.
Very well said. Very well said. And to the T, Duncan Kiprotich, what is your mantra to ensure that you keep forging forward?
Always, what I always do is always invest in my brain. People really tend to underestimate the biggest asset that we have is our brain. Invest in it by reading books, coach, aligning yourself with the right people. And I believe when you do that, things will tend to be simple. Everything is out there for you. Opportunities are all around you. It's just the knowledge, and knowledge is power. So don't underestimate the power of the brain. Invest in that.
Very well said. Pastor Liz, 30 seconds.
Thank you. All of us have a past. My question to you is, what will you do different? If you don't forgive, you become what you hate, and probably even worse. If you don't forgive your mom, your dad, or whoever you need to forgive, you'll become probably worse than what you experienced. So you have the power to change the narrative. Thank you.
Very well said. And Caroline?
Wow, for me, my mantra is stay on your lane. Staying on my lane means there's nobody else that's going to overtake me. There's no competition on my lane. All my resources are on my lane. Focus on my experience because it offers me the greatest wisdom for my next steps.
Okay, very well said. And a big thank you to everyone who was part of this conversation. Again, great lessons and great nuggets coming out of this conversation as we understood and treasured those humble beginnings. Well, before I bid you farewell, there are some top stories making headlines in the other world. If we can have them up, are we ready with them? All right, now the Taj Mahal reopens to visitors this week in a symbolic business-as-usual gesture, even as India looks set to overtake the U.S. as a global leader in coronavirus infections. India, home to 1.3 billion people, some of the world's most crowded cities, has recorded more than 5.4 million COVID cases, around 100,000 new infections, and over 1,000 deaths are reported daily. But after a strict lockdown in March that devastated the livelihoods of tens of millions of people, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is reluctant to copy some other nations and tighten the screw on activity again. Instead, in recent months, his government has eased more and more restrictions, including on many train routes, domestic flights, markets, restaurants, and now visiting the Taj Mahal.
It's okay, no
Now, host Jimmy Kimmel opens the Emmys from an empty Los Angeles theater filled with cardboard cutouts of the nominees, marking the start of Hollywood's first major COVID-era award show.
Where the magic happens. This is the nerve center. As you can see, we've taken every safety precaution, and these are tonight's nominees. Hello, everybody. Congratulations. That would mean that I'm up here all alone. Just like prom night. Of course I'm here all alone. Of course we don't have an audience. This isn't a MAGA rally, it's the Emmys. We filled the seats with cardboard cutouts of the nominees. You can see we have Regina King, Hugh Jackman, Jason Bateman, Meryl Streep. Wait a minute. Go back one. Jason?
That was a lot of fun. You could watch that on YouTube. Now, we shift our focus tomorrow on something most would rather not talk about. And if they do, it is in hushed tones. We're talking about suicide. We shed light on causes, effects, and the prevalence of the same, and also take time to understand the journey of the caregiver, especially after their loved one dies by suicide. Join the conversation at 7 a.m. See you then.